My name is Margaret Ann Windsor. I was kidnapped from Buckingham Palace. In 1941, I was born in 39, and I was brought to Moulton, Alabama, where I was given the name of Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married the Childers. Peggy was a twin to Carl Preston Dempsey, and they were both born out of wedlock, and they were deceased. I was brought there and given the name of Peggy and grew up being told that was my name. Now then, I didn't find out until 1983, the winter of 83, that my real name is Margaret Ann Windsor. I'm Queen Victoria II and legal heir to the British crown, the British throne. Not this woman. And the other picture I just showed to you is her father and my uncle George, excuse me, the sixth. He's Roosevelt in 39, planning my kidnapping in 41. My own uncle helped take down his own brother, King Edward VIII, my father, and kidnap me. Helped Joe Kennedy, who was appointed ambassador to England by Roosevelt, and the New World Order. They were the ones that helped kidnap me. The Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, the ones that control the media and everything now. And Elizabeth and Charles are members, and so is the former Queen of the Netherlands, which is the same relationship to me that she is to Elizabeth. So Elizabeth and her father were illegal. Now then, I put a lot of this on video, and when I found out my real name, I started telling it, and come to find out, the media already knew. They're not going to tell it. I had written a book in 77, 78, a medical malpractice manuscript called MD, A License to Kill. And I was living at Moonraker Apartments in Marietta, just off Delt Road on Powers Ferry. And they were, oddly enough, the name is also important in this, but I'll not try to explain Moonraker. I think you can follow, because they followed it up with the movie Moonraker and A License to Kill with Timothy Dalton. I knew nothing about my real name at that time. I was writing about mind control, people being programmed, and their behavior is altered to suit the one doing the programming. They have no idea they're programmed, so how can they stop it? Even if they knew, how do they prove it? Because in this whole mess, the psychiatrists have to know the truth. It's been going on for a long time. Back in 77, you couldn't go to YouTube and look up mind control. You couldn't Google it. A lot of people didn't know about MK Ultra. That goes back to 53 when Congress, they supposedly went before Congress and got a slap on the wrist. But that's almost a joke in itself. Now then, I don't want to get away from that, and the reason I did this tape, if anybody listens this long or watches it, I just watched a program this morning, and it was a teen program from here in the States, and there was an interview being done, and I looked up, and I thought, my God, that's Edward. That's my father's name, by the way. How dare her name her son Edward? Elizabeth, her youngest son. I mean, you talk about sick, and people really like the woman. You talk about carrying out the biggest fraud in history and murdering and traitor. It would be her and her father, George VI. And the New World Order and the American media, plus the people. I mean, they've known it. Any fool would know you don't put a 99-year seal on my father. Why? And then my being born, I mean, they just don't talk about it. So I understand. And, of course, she doesn't answer questions. So she's not held accountable for anything. I don't exist. or they pretend I don't. But anyway, I showed Hustler because I was flown up there during a campaign to Larry Flint's a U.S. political campaign, and I won't go into that, but the man that shot Larry Flint in Lawrenceville, Georgia, and killed his attorney was programmed, the same mind control programming I'm speaking of. Now then, back to the Edward, Elizabeth's youngest son, was being interviewed by the team. That it's a team program, and at the end of it, of course, they're being charitable. They don't mention it's my money that they're being charitable with, and that I've got two pair of panties I've had for well over a year. I wash them out and put them back on. I've got two pair of pants and a couple of shirts and a cheap jacket. I've lived on top of the Appalachian Trail, starving, freezing, backpacking. Few people could have done it. I had to. My jobs were shut down. I have been soaked in fuel and lived a horrific life, and people just pretend it's not happening because the agency doing it, they're afraid of. And this agency can find something, investigate and find something. So people, I'm the one getting beat up. It doesn't matter to them that I'm the legal monarch. They're don't mind seeing Elizabeth and her brood celebrated on network television here in this country. But the only thing they've ever told about me is pure lies. And I've been through a living hell. I have no civil rights. My point is, too, back to Edward, her youngest son. My father was a very honorable man, Edward VIII. How dare her, after all they've done, name her younger son? It's like slapping the face. Like William, his baby was named George after her father, George VI, that kidnapped me. Helped kidnap his own niece, take down his own brother. What kind of human beings are they? But the teen, and some people will say, well, you can't blame her. Well, I'm not saying that. But she's interviewing him on the sofa, and at the end of the interview, and of course, it's some sort of awards at Edinburgh, and they're handing out the awards, and she's saying to him, Your Majesty, how nice it was to just be to sit on the sofa with you. I think of the way I've had to live, been made to look like I'm nuts, a bag lady, the worst criminal. I've been treated like the worst criminal ever walked the face of the earth, yet the only crime that I've committed, if that's a crime, was being born Margaret Ann Windsor and being kidnapped and having to pay for this country's crimes and my family's against me. So it's quite something to watch TV played out in my life and now people, their response to me and their response to Elizabeth. They even paid her to come to Virginia during the Virginia Tech shootings in April of '07. They paid her money to come here to Virginia. And she went right past me, just like I don't exist, like I'm not a pauper while she's spending my money. Look at her hat. Oh, I'm going to show my dad's picture and an old picture of me and my sons, Mark and Scott, that have been through hell themselves. And when I say been through hell, I mean exactly that. And my mother is Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, Georgia O'Keefe's sister, born in, well, Georgia's the artist. And I'm going to show that. I'm going to show my uncle again, George VI with Roosevelt. Then I'm going to show a few of the mind control murders that have happened after I wrote the book, but they're done in patterns. And you speak of civil rights. A person under mind control, when they are found guilty of a crime, like the mass shootings, they're victims themselves. They've had their civil liberties violated. They are paying for a crime that somebody else committed. It was programmed into them. Their very thought process was violated.